So I hear RBG. Yeah. Let's go. I can't shake it loose. This the hate produced. I'm here to break the loose and fight the devil. Ain't no truce. Raise it another level. Shame the devil. Say the truth. And look him in his eye when the enemy's facing you. I can't shake it loose. This the hate produced. I'm here to break the loose and fight the devil. Ain't no truce. Raise it another level. Shame the devil. Say the truth. And look him in his eye when the enemy's facing you. You peak, pale skin beast. I hate your red, white, and blue. And cool cup plant sheets. I hate your president, your senate, and your campaign speech. I hate the British and the Romans and the goddamn Greeks. It's no peace, yeah. Moral persuasion doesn't work with Caucasians. You speak this language through violence with guns blazing. So what I'm saying, negotiating with Satan is to waste the time. You out your African mind. Don't make these devils pay for every single crime ever committed. Crack if you did it, now it's time to die. I spray the ratchet, I bat it, no moving backwards. I'm sending bullets at crackers and all faggots. Forward is the motion. Killing devils on different levels, concocting potions to stop them from encroaching. On our way of life, I got a knife to slit his throat. Get my people hyped, cause what I write is always dopeness. Focus. I can't shake it loose. This the hate produced. I'm here to break the loose and fight the devil. Ain't no truce. Raise it another level. Shame the devil. Say the truth. And look him in his eye when the enemy's facing you. I can't shake it loose. This the hate produced. I'm here to break the loose and fight the devil. Ain't no truce. Raise it another level. Shame the devil. Say the truth. And look him in his eye when the enemy's facing you. Take a step in my lane. I'm projecting the pain. Visions and pictures in my veins of us tortured and slain. So many sons and daughters slaughtered from known and a name. Bringing my eye to the situation is why I came. I shake every pet nation, go exterminate. Marcus Garvey, Mugabe, politic, run them all away. Keep type methodology, how to God slay. Try life and I don't play. Kill these crackers in broad day. Enter the scene, got them clean and watch me swerve out it. Big juju in my pocket, I ain't worried about it. That goes for grown-ups to babies. Salute my Baba Khaled. Behind it, we solid. I call for violence, is very valid. Yeah, murder these devils, it's divine order. We opposites, I reject them mixing like oil and water. Africa for Africans, representing them words strong. I say shut them borders down and let us get a purge on. I can't shake it loose, this the hate produced. I'm here to break the loose and fight the devil, ain't no truce. Raise it another level, shame the devil, say the truth. And look him in his eye when the enemy's facing you. I can't shake it loose, this the hate produced. I'm here to break the loose and fight the devil, ain't no truce. Raise it another level, shame the devil, say the truth. And look him in his eye when the enemy's facing you.
This ain't no Kumbaya vibe, my Yasa is a war tribe. That's my war cry, double H famine, it's wartime. Devils want it all, wants peaceful coexistence. Anti-separation, he's violently resistant. Coupe tech, bullet cop, hit the deck when bullets fly. The devil won't change and needs to be euthanized. The stupidness, foolish minds, you will get used your blind. Suicide, trusting this cracker is suicide. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you know the play. That peace talk is juvenile, it really don't hold no weight. Fighting hate with love sounds great in theory, but never ever work in history. Name one place that this cracker went. Name one place that this cracker left alone. I bet that they was war prone. Keep a piece in your wardrobe and know the world's a war zone.
I can't shake it loose, this the hate produced. I'm here to break the loose and fight the devil, ain't no truce. Raise it another level, shame the devil, say the truth. And look him in his eye when the enemy's facing you. I can't shake it loose, this the hate produced. I'm here to break the loose and fight the devil, ain't no truce. Raise it another level, shame the devil, say the truth. And look him in his eye when the enemy's facing you.
Boy, I tell you, if that don't get you hype, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. I just felt like coming in on some United Front tonight. You know, it's Throwback Thursday. We like to throw it back. That's one of my favorites. And we going in tonight. I hope y'all had a great week so far. My week been kind of crazy. I actually had to rush, to make this happen tonight. Still hold. Never mind. I ain't even gonna say nothing. But anyway, I'm glad to be back with y'all for another Thursday. We're gonna continue our discussion of the Niagara movement and its history, and also give you some insight on some people that you may not have heard of before. We are also going to correlate the connection between W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, William Monroe Trotter, and Marcus Messiah Garvey. You say, Sister Keisha, how that work out? How Garvey get up in it? But we gonna put it all out tonight. I see my brother Tad getting ready on the check-in. He giving me the thumbs up. He's ready to go. Brother Tad, how you feeling, brother? Take yourself off mute. Take yourself off mute.
All right, there we go. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be back. What's going on, sis?
Oh no, it's Black History Month. We got to get into some stuff. Some things have been happening. I don't know. You had power outages today. I mean, people lost cell phone service. Some people say it was a slow solar flare, but I disagree with that. I believe it was a cyber attack, at least a test run. But we're gonna get into all of that tonight.
I think Brother Black did it.
I ain't say nothing, Black. I'm just saying I ain't say nothing.
He not here. Don't tell him.
I keeps my mouth shut. But in light of Black History Month, we want to start things off right now. My brother Tad always talks about, or references, I should say, the book Without Sanctuary. And I don't think if you're a serious researcher of history that you don't have that in your repertoire. You really should check that book out and look at the photographs that are in there, because it is a pictorial book. So take a look at some photographs and then you tell me, should you forget? As a matter of fact, you don't have to listen to us. How about executive producer, director, and actor Bill Duke tell y'all? How about that? Here we go.
Children, women, male adults lynched. And then is to put us alive on spits with a fire beneath it and turn us and roast us until we dehydrated. And they pick up pieces of the bodies, and hundreds of whites would be standing and taking pictures with a body piece in their hand. They have the pictures, they show the pictures in the book. And they say, just get over that? You don't get over that. You have to move on. You have to live your life. You have to grow. You have to accomplish. You cannot use excuses. But that is in spite of your history.
As my brother Tad always references that book, here you have a legend in entertainment and in activism, Bill Duke, tell you the same thing. And if you've been in the city of Baltimore and you visited the Great Blacks and Wax Museum, they also have an exhibit on the same thing. Brother Tad, your thoughts? You always reference this book. So once I saw that clip from Bill Duke, I said, he co-signing what my brother say all the time. Y'all should get that book and check it out, because the horror that they want us to forget of them burning us alive, cutting off our body parts, putting them on display, selling them, actually selling body parts, putting them in glass jars to preserve them, and so on and so forth. Your insight, brother Tad.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Sister Keisha. I promise you, you and I, that's why you're my sister from another mister. We're always in alignment. I was saying to myself today, because through the interim of me moving from one place to another, I have a ton of books that I can't find anymore. Without Sanctuary is one of them, so I'm going to have to break down and buy another book, right? But it's a pictorial book. Now to the audience, please invest. I think it's about $60. Please invest your money, get that book, because it takes away a lot of myth about what we thought could have happened in the atrocities of not our enslavement, but this is during the Jim Crow era. Because, of course, Sister Keisha, I gotta pair this with the other book, Delectable Negro. Because sure enough, as he talked about roasting the folks, they won't talk about them eating us. Why? Because this information is from their newspapers, their publications, their photograph evidence, and them highlighting the story of exactly what has happened. Because remember, they're very brazen to speak truthfully about how they felt. Remember, Jim Crow laws, we weren't allowed to do anything. A lot of it, too, Sister Keisha, a lot of it was accusations of rape from Becky's and Karen's. A lot of it. We see that in 2024 now, they know how to cry on demand. Imagine back then, if a black man didn't accept their advances, they'll say, look, you better get some of this, or I'm going to say you took it. So either way, you jammed up. And reluctantly, back then, black men satisfied these women's pleasures. And white men too, because they was definitely fascinated with the penis. But this book, it clears up a lot of mystery. And I don't know why more of our scholars don't talk about the book. It's called Without Sanctuary. It's a very important book because it talks about jailbreaks of white mobs. There's a picture of a black woman being hung from a bridge. Her name was Laura Nelson. What they don't show you, she was also hung alongside of a 14-year-old son named DJ Nelson. They don't show you that image. And included in that image is all of these good white folks just standing there across the bridge to see their handiwork, all over allegations of stealing a pig. Our lives are not worth the lives of a pig. The husband would have got lynched, but he was incarcerated somewhere else. It's the only reason he wasn't murdered with his wife and child. This stuff is so crazy. Even when we talk about the N-word, Sister Keisha, you know that's a debate in our community. Sometimes we know N's are N's, and some of y'all don't get a pass. Some of y'all are the N. But to the scholars and the intellectuals who try to justify the word, talking about I use the A and not the ER, there's a famous picture of a hanging, and you'll see a white man pointing, right? It's 3 black men hanging. And he says, this is Bo and his N-I-G-A. Not E-R, it's just 4 letters, N-I-G-A. But he put the A on it. So you can't rationalize it saying it has a different meaning because you put an A on it. Because we understand that these is a bunch of illiterate folks anyway. So no matter how you slice it and dice it, it wasn't used as a term of endearment. And in fact, it remind me to revisit the N-word and why we use it so much. But in fact, that picture was actually a postcard that circulated the United States. It was mass produced. And that's why it was wrote, this is Bo in his N-word, N-I-G-A. And it was passed around. It wasn't just one postcard. There was tons of them. And then there was the castrations. It was just so much going on. But to revisit the N-word and how it spread through our community, it started in the 70s with the television producer Norman Lear and his writer putting that N-word in the Jeffersons and in Good Times. And he might have even put it in Sanford or Son. I can't remember. But Good Times and definitely the Jeffersons, because prior to that, we did not call each other that. And this is how we made it part of our lexicon because, of course, laugh tracks and all this stuff, all the applause and the oohs and the ahs that's manufactured in the studio audience was in all black households. And since we were searching for our identities, we tuned into these shows for what's trending, what's new. Television was our medium, like social media is now. However, again, this is a trick done by the devil for us to hate ourselves, because when we fast forward where we are right now, that most of our folks don't even care about these things. Or, you know what I mean? This is an important book, coupled with other books. But like I said, I was reading The Delectable Negro. I had to take a pause on that because you read The Delectable Negro, you also have to read Medical Apartheid, which you can't read through that. The atrocities that was done to us. So when we talk about reparations, we're not talking about what we think we deserve. We're talking about a promise that hasn't been fulfilled to us because these people know what has been done. What's going on right now, there's a rewriting of history. So for all those looking for Ron DeSantos and all these other people to teach our story to our children, since when have they told our story or even told it in entirety? Because of course, as sure as you have medical apartheid without sanctuary and delectable Negro, you also have Condemnation of Blackness by Khalil Gibran Muhammad, with Dr. Khalil Gibran Muhammad, let me not disrespect his title and credentials, who once was the director of the Schomburg Institute for Cultural Research and is also Elijah Muhammad's great-grandson. But we also have to couple that with Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, if you want to understand how laws were changed to constantly keep us oppressed and justify this brutal treatment that was done to us. So I'm giving you information because this is nothing Brother Tad and Sister Keisha came up with. This is just what it is. And this is not even our words or the writer's words. This is what these people say from their policies, from their articles, from their laws, from their politicians, even down to Abraham Lincoln admitting that he's a white supremacist. I mean, let's not be fooled, but you'll have historical revisionists telling us Abraham Lincoln was a friend of black folks, which is not true. And then, hold on, I'm about to pass the mic because you got me warmed up a little, sis. But then we got to go to some of our scholars, and this is no knock on them. We're just doing what we're supposed to do, and that's build on the research that they've done. But what's from Superman to Man and the 6 Black Presidents, J.A. Rogers. He's the one who subscribed to the one drop rule and said that these presidents that we had were black, but they weren't. The octoroons, quadroons, those people are not black. Not even a mulatto, not even a biracial person is black because they don't identify as black. They have their own class of people. Look it up, research it. What I always say, let's stop regurgitating rhetoric. Let's invest our time, effort, energy, and dollars into our own study and our own research. So we don't have to take other people's understanding because mulattoes do not consider themselves black. Neither do quadroons or octoroons. What they do is subscribe to the one drop rule, which is racist in this context anyway. Because if you got one drop, that means you're not pure white. So white folks are already going to cast you out. So you're going to go to the default group. And a lot of times, Sister Keisha, they try to identify with us to get cool and all that, to culturally misappropriate our whole lifestyle and who we are. Just as a way to say the N-word, if you will. Oh, I could say my great-grandmother was black. But say that your great-grandmother was raped, too. Tell that part. But of course not. But I'm going to stand on my soapboxes. We're in the first 15 minutes and I'm already here. My bad, y'all.
No, not at all, brother. You know.
But get the book Without Sanctuary.
Yes, get that. And also 100 Years of Lynching. Brother
Yes.
Magnetic Peace Tyson mentioned that. And I have that too as well. Yeah. Actually, because of reading 100 Years of Lynching, I started to categorize modern day lynchings. So that began my journey to categorize lynchings that have happened since the writing of that book. I mean, contemporary times.
Just share with me and the audience one of the most recent lynchings that you can recall.
One of the most recent lynchings that I know of happened just about 4 months ago. What we in? February? November. November. Yes.
Not even a year.
No, not even a year. 4 months ago in Mississippi. Absolutely. And a lot of the research actually that I have is not of lynchings in the South, but in the North, including upstate New York, where we reside. So, you know, this is something that I had taken on just for myself, for my own research. And that's why in 2015, I did 100 Years of Lynching Continued, that lecture, because we get it twisted that these things are back then. It happened back then. It's not happening now. And I'm not talking about police shootings. I'm not talking about violent assaults. I'm talking about ropes around the neck hangings.
From
trees. And one lynching was from a playground. What do you call those? Monkey bar things?
Yes.
On a playground. Yeah, literal lynchings. For real.
Now, and maybe you can help me. There was a report of a 80-year-old woman being lynched.
Absolutely. Not just the 80-year-old woman. How about a 6-year-old girl in Mississippi who was in the home with her foster parents, young black girl, white foster parents, and they found, allegedly, they found her um, with I think it was a pajama top or something wrapped around the neck, and she hanging from the doorknob. So again, you know, it's good to know this information, and that's why I began to compile this data, and I have for some time. But yeah, the most recent was November. November. And later on in the year, I will revisit that lecture because it's very, very important that we have these discussions. But I see my brother Black on the back end. You ready, Black? Give me the thumbs up. He says, yes, brother Black. I heard you cause some trouble. Now, I wasn't the one who said it, but somebody said that you was causing trouble. Um, I said it was a cyber attack and not solar flares, and somebody said it was both of them, and you did it. Now, it wasn't nobody on this panel, but I'm just saying somebody said it.
Well, being that it wasn't nobody on this panel and there's only three of us here, I'm going to X him out. I'm going to cut his service so he can't talk on no more.
Hello? What's up, brother?
What's up, Pat? Hey, what's up, man? I ain't see you there for a second. How you doing?
What's going on?
Oh, you know what? And just one announcement for the people, because I got to get this out. The reason why we've been having this issue with Sister Keisha freezing, and not just me, but I realize it is happening on many other platforms with people who carry the same type of media genre that we do. So again, that's the agency for you. It is what it is. We can't control that, at least not now. But before we get into it with Brother Black, because I want you to go in and let us know what you think what's happening with the cell phones and all that going down today. I want to remind our brothers and sisters of the Slocum massacre in 1910. So let's play this minute clip and we'll come back with Brother Black. Here we go.
Massacre of 1910? Probably not, but there's a twisted tale behind its obscurity. Picture a small East Texas town simmering with racial tensions, economic disputes, and manipulations, culminating in a chilling event lost in history's shadows. This violence wasn't an isolated incident. For 6 months prior, black folks faced summary executions by white mobs, devoid of trials or juries, based on mere allegations. Amidst this brutality, a grim postcard circulated depicting the lynching of Allen Brooks just months before the Slocum massacre. Fast forward to 2011, when a newspaper feature spurred Texas to acknowledge this dark chapter. By 2016, a marker finally stood. Despite vehement opposition from local residents, Constance Holly Jwade, a descendant of victims, fought for the historical marker's placement, emphasizing its significance. To ignore it is to spit in the face of those who perished in that tragic event.
Let's have a moment of silence for those who were slaughtered in that massacre. And I'm glad that, their descendants fought hard for recognition of what happened, because when you don't have recognition and documentation, it's very hard to argue a body of evidence. And so that was one of my disagreements, if you will, with people um, led by the Black Lives Matter movement, for lack of a better term, um, wanting to remove statues and markers. You are erasing history. Whether you like it or not, it must remain because it's evidence in your argument for reparations, for liberation. If you erase the evidence, what do you have? See, truth has no bearing without evidence. Shout out to the Barber Trust Graham. If you missed him last night at the BK William Mackey History Club, you missed it. And that video will be reposted on Thorough Black Talk Facebook page. Now, I'm going to tell you something. And then I'm going to let Brother Black come in here. But last night, Trust Graham dropped some real tea on what happened between Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm. Story that I'm sure none of us heard before. And when you hear what Trust Graham says, it clicks. It makes sense. And I kind of had this feeling in the background. I couldn't put it together because I didn't know the other player. Because what happened between them seemed to be a common thread with a lot of black movements. I'm not going to reveal it. You got to watch the video. Trust Graham dropped some real tea on what happened between Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad. And I'm telling you, you're going to be like, whoa, when you're done. But, get off
Real
my
quick,
soapbox.
sis.
Go ahead.
Was infidelity in play? Or attempt?
You got to watch the video. I'll tell you behind the scenes.
All right.
I want our people to watch and see what happened.
I've heard some things that, you know, sometimes we don't want to believe, but the truth is the truth. And we weren't there, you know, to really, because sometimes we have this pristine image of our heroes. And that's why I always talk about the authenticity and the human side of each of us. You know, we're just striving to be better folks. So I'm definitely going to watch the video.
Yes. It wasn't infidelity on Malcolm's part. Let me just say that.
Say it again.
Sorry. It wasn't infidelity on Malcolm's part.
Right.
But you got to watch the video. That's all I'm going to say. I'll give you the tea. I'll give you the tea after the show, Brother Ty. I'll give you the tea. I'll give it to you, Brother Black. But I'm going to post the video as soon as Ray tell me that it's ready. Let me give some shout outs real quick and we'll come to Brother Black. Shout out to Sister Donna, Brother Kerwin, all the way down in Alabama. Stop playing. Aunt Marie on the check-in, Brownsville's finest. In the building, huh? Uncle Jesse on the check-in, Sister Farnessa, a BB Fahodier. Brother Magnetic Peace Tyson, Neff Kakalaki family in the building. Sister Joyce, Brother Monty, was good, Nassau County. Sister Aminette, too. Good to be with you. Midwest crew. Sister Marie B. Moore finest in the building. And of course, we got Brother Ray, the BK William Mackey History Club. Brother Russ Philly family in the building. What's good, cuz? What's happening? If I missed anybody, Brother Kev, South Kakalaki in the building. That's my brother from another mother. I might be down in South Carolina towards the latter half of the summer. I'll let you know, Brother Kev, for real. We got to meet up. So I'll let you know when I'm going to come down there. Sister Pat on the check-in. Saw Sister Pat on the Zoom last night. Good to see you. Did I miss anybody? If I did, I'll catch you on the second go round. Brother Black, your thoughts on what happened with people losing cell phone service? I mean, customers of AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, the LIRR was off this morning. Yeah, for several hours. So, I don't know. Brother Black, it's on you. What's good?
Okay, this is going to be theoretical. I'm not in New York. Everybody knows that. So I don't know what's happening in New York in particular, but I'm going to speak for the most part for the country. Okay, now what I'm seeing as far as I was out all day, so I didn't get a good indication as to what happened because I didn't get to research much of what went on. But I knew you would ask me these questions, so I kind of prepared myself. Did you get the inbox I sent you maybe a half hour, 45 minutes ago?
Yes, I did. Okay. I did.
In that, it's a YouTube video. In that video, the brother is, by the way, his name is JWTV. He's good. He gives a lot of information on prepping and stuff like that. So I suggest y'all check it out. JW Separation TV. But anyway, what he says in the video is that it wasn't solar flares, that it was a chance for the authorities to start hacking people's phones and stuff like that. So if you saw an alert or, if your phone service went off, because not everybody was affected, but if you saw that.
Not everybody.
Right.
I wasn't affected.
Me either.
My cousin in Connecticut was.
Right.
Oh.
So he said if you saw an alert on your phone, they were hacking you to find out what you're doing, where you're going, blah, blah, blah. Now, what I could say as far as that's concerned for you guys in New York in particular is you got to put this all together, because we know that these gangs from Venezuela in particular is tearing shit up in New York, and they stealing phones and sending them back to Venezuela after they get in them. There's been stories about this. I'm sure y'all heard about it because y'all there. Now, what could happen in this event is if there's a total blackout. I'm talking about a blackout now. I'm not talking about phone outages and stuff like that. Will these migrants that are now in New York City fighting police be fighting the Bloods and the Crips? Are the Bloods and the Crips uniting? Is the OGs telling them, yo, y'all got to cut that out right now. We got a real enemy here. And you see they ain't scared of the police, so they definitely not scared of you. All right? So, we need to get that message out there. Protect the hood. That beef you had with your man 2 years ago, if you can squash that, at least be allies. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be friends. You can be allies because you have a common enemy now that going in with the police. And if you fighting police, you sure ain't afraid of nobody else as a community. So with that said, what I'm thinking is they could be using that though, because the two flares that came yesterday, or early this morning, I should say, were X flares, and they're big. So you have to understand, it's like Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. Meaning they're going to spin whatever they can out of this to create chaos to bring it down, because we already know what's going down. And once that big one comes, they don't know the timing or they don't know the timing or the place. So they can't place it, but it's coming soon because these things ain't happening by coincidence. Now, if it was solar flares, that just means it's coming more and more. And they're going to lie about that because they want the chaos to ensue. So that's my spin on that.
I believe so. And you 100% right. It's time to close ranks, if you will. And they did that once before. I think it was just before the pandemic. There was some Dominican gangs who were being real disrespectful to Black Harlem Nights. And so you had our brothers, Crips from Brooklyn, went all the way uptown and like, now what's up? What's up? I gotta give it to the Crips. They've been protecting our people for a minute. They was out there in Long Island when them crazy crackers was out there bothering that sister and her daughter. They pulled up. So I hope that they get that message, Brother Black, because
trust me, those conversations is being had. We know we being monitored, so we always monitor what, what I'm saying?
Facts.
How we move, right? Because the matter, it is real. And I have these conversations with folks who don't believe it's possible or even out the loop. One thing I realized, Sister Keisha, Brother Black, is that a lot of our people aren't really mentally equipped. Everything that we talk about seems so far-fetched. That's why I always like to say, let's break it down for those who don't know. Because sometimes we invite people to watch the show, and sometimes it's almost like we talk over their head. And I know I said this before, but this is why I always like to break it down and always give reference sources. Not like we just sitting here talking a bunch of bull crap, but I'm pointing you in the direction where you could get this information firsthand. Like we said, we name books, we name articles, we show you that we research, we point you in the right direction if you don't want to take our word for it.
Right.
Because this is a reality. What we're talking about is our survival. What we're talking about is existing in the future. Many of our folks don't understand how severe that is. God bless my mother. I argue with her, Mom, please don't let them, give you the stuff. And she regurgitated the propaganda. But I miss y'all. I want to travel. I want to be able to come see you. And believing that she was doing the right thing. And this is the part of the devil. He always tricks you into thinking the wrong thing is the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
And people will hold on to that with good consciousness, with a light heart, really believing they're doing what's in the best interest of everybody. But those of us who know, who use our first eye, as our brother Black Dot like to say, he don't call it the third eye, he call it the first eye. Shout out to our brother Black Dot. using our first eye, we see through all the facade. We see through all the rhetoric. You know, and it's unfortunate that so many of our folks don't see it because this information has been around forever. Forever. And all we can do is try to share the information with folks and hopefully help them prepare for them to save themselves and their family and those people that they love. Because, like they said, in this revolution, you're not going to save everybody. You're going to lose people you love. My mother's brother actually passed this morning. So, you know, God bless
Our
my,
condolences to you and your
yeah,
family.
my Uncle Jerome Cromwell passed this morning, you know. This is part of life, you know. He's 70 years old. It's my mother's brother. And I had to break the news to my grandmother last night. You know, had to give her a call, say, look, Grandma, Uncle Jerome's in the hospital and it don't look good. We all know what it don't look good mean, you know. So at 1:15, you know, was the official transition time. Even though my cousin, his son, said he saw it yesterday when they took him out the house, he was gone. You know, so my thing is, let's try to really put some quality of life into this thing we call life. Let's really try to celebrate and just enjoy it, you know, because we're not guaranteed to be here forever. But while we're here, let's have a high quality. Let's not just exist, you know. And I'm stepping off my soapbox. Give me 1 second.
Real quick, Sister Keisha, I forgot to add one thing. The reason why, for the most part, we're hearing that the migrants that's turning up real crazy is the Venezuelans, is because like how Castro did in the late 70s or early 80s, I don't remember the time period right now, when he had that Freedom Flotilla come here and they opened up the Cuban jails, and most of them guys that came from the Cuban jails. The same thing in Venezuela. They just opened up the jails and say, all right, y'all got to get out of the country. So most of them came here.
Now, it's funny you say that, right, Brother Black?
Crazy.
I don't know if y'all can remember, but I said I was working with them. And what I posted on my IG page is what I saw in the place, in these shelters. The one saving grace is that I'm me. Always going to stand 10 toes down, head high, chest out, shoulders back, fist clenched, ready to go. They didn't play with Mr. Cromwell. They played with everybody else. They didn't play with me, you know. But I kept telling people, this is coming. What we see is coming. I remember calling the police and they just let them come back. They was back in hours. And I'm saying to myself, I'll be spending the night going through bullpen therapy for nothing. I had a fight protecting the sister at work. Some young dudes jumped a female security guard. I break it up. They try to fight me. I hit them with a 1-2. They call the cops on me. I get arrested at work. At work.
I remember that.
Had to spend the night. I'm like, officer, look at me. I work here. They don't belong here. They don't belong in this office. Me and the girl who got jumped end up going through. Everybody went through though. The kids went through. Everybody went through. But my point is, you got people that aren't even taxpaying citizens that could commit extreme acts of violence and get a slap on the wrist.
Well, that just proves right there that it's an agenda. They're supposed to be here for the purpose I just said.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you're luckier than the people in Chicago because at least they're not putting them directly in the black community. They die in the black community, you know, especially in the Ville in East New York. Y'all not having that out there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now, maybe downtown or Flatbush, they might get away with it, but
here's what it is in New
York. Hell no.
Brother Black, here's what it is in New York. This is the wild part. They in hotels.
I know. In Midtown.
Right. Billionaires Row, everywhere. I was working at one of the hotels, and it was so crazy because a white family came from out of town with their luggage and everything, only to find that their reservations was canceled, and they weren't even notified. So he's like, what am I supposed to do? Here you are, you coming from out of town or maybe even out the country, thinking that you already got your reservations and everything to stay in New York. You know, you and your family plan a trip to New York. First of all, you got to have a few dollars. We know New York is expensive. And here you get to your hotel, because that's the one thing you want, if nothing else. When you get to your destination, you want your hotel, a place to lay down, rest your loins, wash your tail, and figure out what's your next move. You don't even care about transportation because you could catch a cab, whatever, but you want to have a place where you can freshen up and relax. And that wasn't there. And the guy was like, so what am I supposed to do? We didn't have no answers. We don't know. This is not run by the hotel no more. This is run by the city. And it's just so crazy, to your point, Black, that this is an agenda. But Dr. Claude Anderson told us a long time ago, the agenda is to wipe us out. The agenda is to wipe us out. They bring everybody in as a buffer class to move us lower down the rungs. Because like I constantly tell the people, bigger than the economic war, this is a spiritual war. Because the devil know who God is. The problem is God don't know who God is. And is confused about who the devil is. I hope that ain't go over some people's head. Because if we are gods, if we are created in the image of the creator, we got to function as such. But instead, the devil tricked us that we not. And that's what I was going to say, Sister Keisha, about the infidelity, which you said wasn't on Malcolm part, because I wasn't going there. I'm talking about the other one that got the big following and the big factions, because now this caused so many people belief system to be called into question. You know, trying to be righteous by an unrighteous person. How does that work? But then
you better get those hands clean. When
yeah,
you come, you have to have. Go ahead,
I always tell Sister Keisha, I always say, if the Creator see fit for me to go today, I can honestly say I'm leaving with clean hands and a clean heart. I can honestly say that. Put it on this, because I ain't mad at nobody. Well, maybe one or two people, but not too many people. And that's not bad, considering there's billions of people on the planet. One or two people, it ain't too bad, you know?
Hey,
I got about 4 or 5.
Hey, Sister Keisha, I wonder if somebody mad at me for wiping out the phone lines this morning.
I'm going to leave that alone.
I ain't going to tell you it was Brother Tab.
We don't want no trouble.
I ain't going to tell you Brother Tab.
Look here, listen, agency, it wasn't us, okay? He's just a jokester. Don't come over here. But I see my sister Marcia. What's good, sis?
Hey, Angel.
Peace, family. Welcome, Black, to a Blacktastic Thursday.
Did Brother Blacksmith cut your phone off too?
No, I have no problems. I was just looking at the internet like, what?
Hey, they ain't gonna mess up our phones because they're already seeing us every week. So it don't matter. It don't matter. They already seeing us. So it don't matter. It don't matter.
Peace, everyone. And Brother Tad, condolences to the loss in the family.
Oh, thank you.
Much healing and light to you and your family.
Yes. Look, I'm so acquainted with this thing called transitioning that it is what it is, you know. Like
I was saying that same thing to my family, Brother Tad.
Look,
I don't see it the same way no more.
Yeah, like my uncle, my mama, my cousins, like, you know, this is the nuclear of the family. And it prompted me to call my daughter Tati today. Shout out to my baby. You know, just
what up, Tati?
You know, that's Zuri mama. And my grandbaby Zuri's mama. You know, it's just you know, just to tell her how proud I am of her and the level of appreciation I have for her and all my children. You know, I put them all in the group text, you know, and we had a good conversation, you know, just organize our family cookout, our outings, because I'm getting ready to start party back again. Like, there's so much to be done. There's so much to be done that tomorrow is not promised to none of us. And this is why I try not to hold so much bitterness and hostility in me. Yeah, I get upset when I see foolish stuff, but smart people are supposed to be upset at foolish stuff. Because we in the information age, so we don't really have an excuse for ignorance. We got to stop accepting whatever's forced on us and start really inspecting things. You know, really got to start investigating. I was going to say inspectigating. That's a joke between me and Doggy. We say, instead of investigating, we inspectigating. Inspecting and investigating. So some things we got to inspectigate, you know. But the point is that when we run around very angry, when we run around with this level of hostility, the enemy wins. Because the thing is, to get you to not value life. When you can walk with a light heart and still smile in the darkest times, you have already won. Because you are enjoying life, you are valuing this gift called life, and you're not letting nothing deter you from this thing that the Creator has blessed us with. Because it is one of the most valuable things that we have that we can share with other people. Because in essence, what us four get on here every week and do, we share our life, we share our knowledge, we share our wisdom, we share our compassion to help other people learn the value of life, because we see what's happening in our communities when people don't value life. They don't value their life, and they don't value the life around others. So they're living a miserable life, and they want to spread that negativity. And this is what the enemy does. He instills fear in us, knowing that on a cellular level, it breaks down our immune system. It puts us in a deep depression, knowing that our mind is the original computer, and we can make anything we want in this world through our mind. But if our mind ain't right, because our emotions are taking over, putting us in this deep, dark place, we're going to function from that. And this is why we always got to wish each other peace, love, and light. Yeah, it sound cliche, it sound a little spooky and spaced out, but the reality is this is who we are. We are divine by design. There's no accident that we're here. But while we're here, we have to add meaning, value, and purpose to our life and share that with other people on the strength of love, on the strength of what they call storgy love, love of family, agape love, the love of everybody. We have to love one another, and it ain't got to be romantic like we've been taught by the Europeans, even though this is their language we're using. So even when we talk about storge, philia, and eros and all this crazy stuff, Black people got to get back to loving one another, because that's the only thing we had that really got us over the hump. Us getting up every day, working, fighting, struggling for the love of each other. And when we take that out the equation, we lost. But how can you really love when you're always angry? Here's come the contradiction that exists within us. But I'm going to step off my soapbox.
Absolute
Just
fact.
enjoy life.
Absolute
That's all I'm
fact.
saying.
As I was saying to my family, during our recent loss of loved ones, I just don't see it the same anymore. And the more you educated you become in this realm, it becomes quite clear. It becomes quite clear, and you become more and more covered by your ancestors. I'm gonna tell you
That's
something.
right.
I had to send my cousin a message yesterday, I think it was. My aunt woke me up. My aunt who transitioned woke me up yesterday, literally. And I jumped up, and I had to let my cousin know that. But again, I favor cover, so I don't care what these folks are saying. You know what I mean? So I see I'm freezing already. Can you hear me, brother Tad?
I hear you clearly.
All right, good.
I hear you
So,
clear.
Sister Marcia, what's on your mind this evening? Give it to us.
Nothing. I'm tired. I'm tired of the bull. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. And I'm tired of our people falling for the bull.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Marcia Lou Hamer. She's sick and tired of being sick and
Being
tired.
sick and tired.
Hey, I don't blame you, sis. It's just too much. It's too much.
It is.
And when you see, sis, when you see like there's the sister that has her 50 chapter rendition of her relationship being the topic center for the past 5 days, it becomes problematic, because when your children don't know how to read, but yet you can tell me the scenario of this story, or your children can, it's a serious problem, because that's all you have in the background playing.
Nothing but shenanigans. Nothing but
Nothing but shenanigans. Or we could just buy Trump sneakers, help pay off his debt.
I'm glad you brought that up. Go ahead. Let's talk about these sneakers. Let's talk about these sneakers, because I've heard some conservative commentators who said that the sneakers are causing scoring, excuse me, more points with the black community because we love sneakers. I mean, just disrespectful all the way around. But your thoughts on this new venture, brother Black?
I seen him, and y'all know I'm a Trump supporter. As far as I'm concerned, hot garbage. I'm gonna send a pair to Tag because that's my man.
I'm gonna rock him with respect too, and I'm rocking with respect. I got a lime green hoodie to go with it. Watch, I'm gonna cry.
Hey, Tag, act like a migrant. Throw him at the police head.
I ain't throwing good sneakers. I throw my Timberlands at him before I throw them Trump sneakers.
In my opinion, hot garbage, Keisha.
I agree. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but in July, I took a trip down to Nashville and I came back and I told y'all that I had a little sit down with a Klans member. And we had a little conversation. Well, recently, what took place in Nashville?
The march. The march.
I think Sister Keisha froze again.
Yeah. Sister Keisha, can you hear us?
It took place in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we lost you for a good 10 seconds.
All right. I'm working
can't
two
see.
machines. I'm trying to. Right. I got my.
You know, real quick, right, Brother Black, Sister Marcia, while Sister Keisha worked that out in the background. When the sneakers came out, it made me think of Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. To our audience, please YouTube Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. Neely, Neely.
Excuse me. Well,
F-U-L-L-R,
I got another option.
Fuller
But
Jr.
yeah.
Real quick, Sister Keisha, he has a lecture called Zapsters. It's about how you can sell our folks anything. And he said you could put a hubcap on a baseball cap and sell them to our community. Just call them Zapsters, and we'll buy it. And that's immediately what I thought of when I saw Trump sneakers.
But doesn't that more call for the idea that we're just consumers? We're locked in this idea of consumerism.
Of course.
And because we want the latest this and the latest that, and what they say, quote unquote, looking like the Joneses, that is one of our biggest economic divide or economic devise. So it is what it is. As long as we're trapped in consumerism, and I think, you know, before you could even release the white Jesus, you have to release the idea of purchasing everything, purchasing your liberation, as if you can Gucci belt into a society that's never going to appreciate you.
Right. Because rich folks don't wear that stuff.
Absolutely.
Bill Gates, Steve Jobs.
And even if they wear it, you don't know they're wearing it because they're not wearing those with imprints on it.
Right. And see, and this is the thing, because we weren't brought here for the American dream. We were here to build it and facilitate it. And once we understand that, because remember, there was a time where we kept our money within our community, within our hood. As we talked about last week, you know, people wearing Gucci, but it's dirty. It don't even fit you properly. You don't make it look good. You know, clean and neat is always the way to go. But we have been brought here to be consumers. But here's the problem. And I'm in agreement with you, Sister Marcia. We keep listening to them folks. We keep listening to other people instead of listening to our higher conscience, except listening to our higher self. Saying, do I need this? Is the question. Like, I get it. You want to feel good. But why should your self-worth and value be attached to material things? Once you got knowledge and information, you start loving yourself automatically, and you don't need these things or anybody to validate you because you know your self-worth. But as long as you buy into the value system of foreign people, you'll never love yourself because nobody's going to teach you to love yourself but your family and those who truly love you. Because what we do here on this platform is empower people. We give people the tools we use to show you how you can love yourself, how we love each other. Every week we could have friendly debates, crack on each other, but we all know it's out of love because we come back next Thursday for the same thing. Because we make light of it, because this is part of our culture, to toughen our skin, to toughen our hide, you know, for us to take a critical analysis of ourselves, but still joke around with each other, because as Black folks, we like to have fun. And it's not always fun in games, because there's a time and a place for everything, but we like to make things lighthearted here, though it is serious. Because our folks are so fearful, right, Sister Marcia, that they think stepping outside of the matrix is going to make them fall off the earth. Like, I never understood how I could go to somebody's house and they don't have no TV. Now I'm one of them people that don't have a TV. And I am perfectly fine with it. I never thought, you know, when I was caught in the nonsense and in the matrix, every day I walk in from work, first thing I do is grab a remote and just start channel surfing. I don't do that no more. I don't even care what's on TV. I grab a book. I listen to an audio book. I'll read a book. I'll look up something online. Or I'll just sit quietly and get up in here, assess my day, see how that went for me, and how can I make it better tomorrow. This is what's more important than, you know, I mean, I still watch Power Universe, like Raising Kanan and all that, because I tell you, I knew Unique wasn't dead. So can't nobody...
Wait a minute. Isn't it predictive television for the hood? Like, you already know what's happening. Isn't it predictive television, since you know, basically, look,
no.
Wait. I don't know what I don't know, because I haven't seen many parts of these series that the community tells me about. But I just feel like when I hear them start telling me the story, I'd be like, oh, so this happened and that happened. And it was like, well, how do you know when you didn't watch it? I'm like, but we live in the hood. Go ahead.
It's television. Real hood stuff don't really happen like that. And that's that. But I'm going to talk about the genius of 50 Cent, of Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. Here's what it is.
Boo-boo.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Boo-boo. From your hood.
That's right.
No, he's from downtown Brooklyn, man.
No,
that's the real 50 Cent from downtown.
Yeah, so, okay, my bad.
Not the real one, not the real one.
50 Cent. Real quick, right? Because I'm a reader and I'm into intellectual stuff and from the streets, I watch how he does it. First of all, we all familiar with 48 Laws of Power, right? By Robert Greene, right? You know, he's he doesn't fancy himself as a historian, but the white community will call him an historian / philosopher. Excellent writer. 48 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies of War, The Art of Seduction. What else he got up there? What else he got? The Laws of Human Nature, Self-Mastery. But hold up, one book that he wrote that Little Tad is reading now, The 50th Law of Power.
Right.
The 50th Law of Power is all about 50 cents. And he said he wrote the book because he always write about great people like Napoleon, Shaka Zulu, Haile Selassie, which I love the story of Haile Selassie. Like, you know, he writes down history. He talked about 50 cents. He said 50 Cent's superpowers is fearlessness. He asked him, where does it come from? 50 said, when I'm in the room with these white people, at first it's intimidating. He said, but where I'm from, if a business deal go bad, you get killed. He said, I'm in a room with a bunch of nerds. I'm not afraid of them, right? 50's a reader. 50 reads. He called his show Power, right? And in the show with the white boy Tommy, he calls Force. But there's a book that a lot of rich, white, powerful men read called Power versus Force. Now, Power versus Force is talking about what is power and what is force. Because a lot of times in our community, we use force and confuse that with power. And force is not necessarily power, just like power is not force. Because sometimes power is quiet. Power is humble. So we have to learn, and that's a whole nother book that we don't read. We don't even think of expanding our mindset. But with that, he has excellent writers that talk about human behavior, human psychology, and characteristics. That's why these shows are so important. A lot of this stuff does not happen in the street. I mean, foul stuff happens in the street, but not to the extent of what you see on television, because it's dramatized. It's for writers. You know, Yet it's a good story, but in it, you see how power is used in life or death situations, because that's what he does, present life and death situations and how to use your mind to get out of it. It's more cerebral than anything. It's not just a hood show. It's almost like if you watch Game of Thrones or Sopranos or anything like that. Because in essence, when you don't use your mind to your benefit, the consequence is death. Whether it's a fast one with a bullet to the head or it's a slow one through diet and misinformation. The consequence of not being aware is death. And that's how you peel the layers back and start seeing the value, because what we're presenting to the people is life. We're the antithesis to this death style that's being sold to our community, to take our tax money and fund wars on the other side of the world and get us to agree with bombing children, whether it's Ukraine, Israel, Afghanistan, wherever. It's very important that we start peeling back the layers and just getting into the science of ourselves. Because whether it's a slow death or a fast death, we out of here regardless. So with 50 done, since he faced death, we all know he was shot 9 times.
He wasn't shot 9 times. It's in my book.
I'm sorry?
He wasn't shot 9 times. It's in my book.
Or maybe shot at 9 times.
Yeah. Okay, maybe that.
But nobody want to get shot in the face. I know that for a fact.
Nobody want to get shot at all.
Yeah. But there's a method to his madness, and you really have to check him out, because in the 50th Law, and I'm gonna pass the mic, Robert Greene talked about the strategy of 50 Cent. Like, even when you see him right now, he does the trolling, but back then he would throw hissy fits and act crazy. And Robert Greene said after people would walk out, 50 would just laugh and say it's all a ploy, because you got to get people to pay attention to you. Attention is the new currency, as we see. As you were saying, Sister Marcia, homegirl with her 50 chapters of her shenanigans. I'm not familiar with it, but I take your word for it, because I know you're not going to come here captain. But what 50 did was for the attention to parlay it into other positions, because look at when they blackballed Monique, 50 was in power to say, you know what? F them, come over here and get money with me, and put her on BMF. Put her to work. Same thing with Jeffrey, whatever his last name was, that was in the Cosby Show. Remember, he was getting clowned for being in Walmart. 50 said, you know what? Y'all want to clown him? Come to my show. Now you play the lawyer. 50 was putting people back in the power seat. Even when you look at G-Unit, even though they broke up, Tony Yayo's the loyalist, because he said, yo, when I came home, 50 made sure I had $1 million. He was paying me, and I wasn't even at the shows. I was locked up. Even with him and Young Buck. He told all of them, invest your money. Stop buying stuff that don't mean nothing. He said he told all of them that, yo, you could get down on this Coca-Cola deal. Put your money in this Coca-Cola deal. This is what I'm getting ready to do. You got the money. You do the same. They chose not to. They chose jewelry, cars, liquor, and clothes. Our value system. It's our value. It ain't that we don't have the money. And when everybody get mad because 50 don't want that stuff, he'd rather make his money make money. His crew get mad because they didn't do what he suggested. Because now you trying to tell me what you know how black people are when you give them good information. You ain't my mother. You can't tell me what to do.
Well, that's why there's no leadership amongst us. That's why we're a bunch of
our own leader. Look in the mirror.
We can be our own leader, but even if you are your own leader, you have to be able to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And most times we don't listen to ourselves. Our intuition, our inner self tells us, you know, certain things aren't really good for us. But what we do, oh no, I really want that. Versus listening to our inner self so that we don't go down certain paths and we don't make these, you know, selfish or selfless decisions that aren't good for us. You know, it's always good to be selfish, but is it selfish to our own good? You know, and we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to be good to ourselves. Yeah. We only know how to do what we think is best, listening to our to this mind versus the inner mind.
Yeah. You know what's so crazy, because, and I'm going to pass the mic because now we got Sister Keisha back. The one thing we need is direction. First, we got to have a destination. You know, they say if you don't have a plan for your life, it's like being in a boat on the ocean. You just set adrift. with nowhere to go. And I see a lot of our people every day. We say just wake up to fail. People aren't even trying anything. They're not even trying anything new. And that's the sad part, because we're shown, subconsciously taught through the matrix, through the propaganda machine of mainstream media, that everything happens instantaneously, that you deserve this, you can do that. If you want to be a woman tomorrow, you could be a woman tomorrow. If you want to switch back to being a man, you can do that. It's called fluidity. You could, and that's just not how life really works. You have to set a goal for yourself and just go in that direction. Caitlyn Jenner, you want to be a woman? You did it. More power to you. That's the direction you wanted to go in. It paid you well. You was part of the agenda. You knew what you was doing. But for those who aren't a part of that agenda, don't want to be a part of that agenda, stop letting blind people lead you. We have to set a precedence for ourselves. And unfortunately, as a group, we don't. Because to your point, I'm giving you the mic back, Marcia. Our leadership, right? We got Dr. Sukiana. Who else we got? Those who really add value, nobody listen to. You still got Sucker Polite. His page popped up on my IG. People still following him. They blocking people who don't agree with him. Like, dude, ain't you in jail? And you still trying to sell stuff? And why he ain't buy his own sovereignty package and telling people they ain't got no jurisdiction over him? How that work? Well, he took $300 to $500 to $3,000 from other people. Yeah, buy my program. I show you that they ain't got no jurisdiction over you. Well, how did that work? And people are so gullible and naive, who's supposed to be conscious now, Sister Marcia. These supposed to be smart people. If you're following polite, you fancy yourself to be somebody smart. Here, you still following the charlatan.
You said swallowing the charlatan?
Nah, not TD Jakes. Shout out to him. Y'all gonna leave my pastor alone too. In Jesus' name, heathens.
Yo, he never gonna live that down ever. Ever. You hear me? 100 years from now, they're gonna be ragging him about that. He can forget it. He never gonna live that down. Forget it.
Yeah, Sister Keisha.
I gotta get off my soapbox tonight.
Sister Keisha, real quick. I'm sorry, Tad. Finish.
No, I said I'm getting off my soapbox. I don't know why I'm charged up tonight.
It's all good. You saying the right stuff, brother. I just want to bring light. If we could cover this for a minute, because I know we got to get into the program at hand. But I just want to let people know out there, we need to be looking out for some of our African American sisters in the Gambia, especially, who are getting murdered out there. Like 6, 7 of them in the last maybe 4 or 5 months.
Wow, I didn't hear that. Get out of here.
It's bad.
It's bad all over for us sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
You know, because we don't want to, have true conversations. We're stuck with those people that are highlighting all of these craziness. And 1 minute, this is why I always say a clock or a person, tells the right time or tells the wrong time twice a day, and who likes it, I don't care, because nobody is ever always right and no one is ever always wrong. But you weigh, you use your scale of ma'at to understand how much of this information you're going to listen to. And too many times people aren't scaling up information. Is it for your heart? Does it make you light? Does it make you want to continue on the mission? Or is it hard? Does it make you heavy and want to make you, stick to the ground, buy some liquor, get some drugs, and keep on going that way? That's how we truly have to understand how we're going to move forward in a community, in a nationhood, with principles, values, ethics systems, anything that's going to make us move in the best direction as a nation. But because we're so stuck on these, what's this Keisha calls it, manosphere and whatever fears and all these fears of people not truly trying to educate people on principles. And this is what is so lacking in our community. We just say, Jesus is my savior and nothing else is going to happen, because in Jesus' name, amen, brothers and sisters, because Jesus has come to rescue you, even though he was there when you were in trouble.
It is what it is, family. We just got to keep pushing. And, the battlefield is where you stand. And right now, we got a lot of battlefields. And I think Sister Amanetu put in the chat, we the only people that don't realize we're at war. And I have to say that we ain't at war. We being slaughtered.
Yeah. Wars. You
War,
Absolutely.
that's right. War is a battle between two opposing sides. And we ain't battling nobody. We just standing here getting slaughtered like a bunch of suckers. And the problem is we allow, number one, tribal differences to separate us. That's how it's always worked. If you listen, when I read our history, I just don't read our history. I read world history. If you go back, when they first start captivity with our folks, listen, there were many tribal wars that would happen. And so those folks were able to creep in, cause division, and use people. It's the same on the street. You know the Yorugu is the enemy. You know you won't get tripped up out here. But you rather have opposing sides with somebody who look like you instead of someone who got you in a position that you have to be doing criminality in the street. You don't want that smoke, but you'll go at your brother or your sister. To me, that's cowardice. It's cowardice. If you want money, if you want a better life, you gotta go for your own. And while you do that, there are stumbling blocks in the way. And the stumbling blocks are caused by the Yorugu. Take that fight to that Yorugu. Take that fight to that Yorugu. Shout out to the history hitman. He giving you the love.
Brother Mike.
Gotta give love to the history hitman. But I want to ask y'all a question. Have you ever heard of Barbara Pope?
That name is familiar.
You have, Sister Marcia?
I heard her name last week.
Good job. Good job. She was listening, paying attention. See what I'm talking about? Now, this sister was before Rosa Parks, before Claudette Colvin, and after Elizabeth Jennings, right? She was stopped from riding a train and told she had to move because, them folks need their spot, and you in their spot. But she was resistant. And in fact, she took her case to court, and her representation was the Niagara Movement. Now, at that particular time, there were a lot of debates that were happening within the Niagara Movement, right? As far as Booker T. Washington was concerned, W.E.B. Du Bois was seeing him being problematic as it relates to William Monroe Trotter's arrest that took place after a riot, the Boston riots. Y'all can look it up for yourselves. But after that took place, William Monroe Trotter was arrested, and Booker T was pretty much saying good for him, even though William Monroe Trotter was in the same organization that he was in, right? So you have three major figures: W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, and William Monroe Trotter. Now, William Monroe Trotter was uncompromising. He was like, I'm not giving them Yorugus no pass. I'm not trying to work things out. I'm not going to be a pacifist. At least this was the commentary that they were spewing about Booker T. Washington, right? But when you read the history, William Monroe Trotter, there's a book. It's called Black Radical. It's about William Monroe Trotter. It was written by Dr. Kerry Greenridge. It's an excellent book. I just got it not too long ago, but so far it's a page turner. I know a lot of people believe that William Monroe Trotter was pushed off of a roof, but when you dig into the history of his relationships, he suffered from severe depression. I didn't say that. That's what his family said, that he suffered from depression. In fact, when he jumped off of that roof, he didn't die. Actually, he didn't die. And when the ambulance or whatever you want to call paramedics came to retrieve him, he kept saying, "Let me die, let me die." He just couldn't. He had enough of the fight. Now, mind you, he come from a middle class black family. His upbringing was way different than Booker T's and W.E.B. Du Bois. Way different. So he was like, I don't got to kowtow to these people. It is what it is. So there was conflict, if you will. And Booker T. Washington was very intelligent as it relates to propaganda. What I mean by that is that he purchased, all of the newspapers or bought into them so that he could control the narrative. His narrative was economic prowess and sustainability. If you have economic prowess and sustainability, you don't need these folks, which was contradictory because he received philanthropy money from those folks. So, you see what I'm saying? There was a lot of conflict. People were calling Booker T a sellout and all that.
So you think he was a double agent?
I don't know if he was a double agent.
Yeah.
The evidence don't tell me that. But what it does tell me is that he had favor. He had favor with them folks. He had favor. And William Monroe Trotter did not. So I'm going to play this clip. We're going to come back and we're going to discuss to back up exactly what Sister Keisha just said. You don't got to believe me. Listen to the historians. And shout out to all these young historians that are killing the game right now. I know Dr. Clark and them will be so proud. These young historians, some of our people who do history and research, we like to hone in on the elders, which is what we must do. However, there are so many more historians that are coming out and killing the game. Go ahead, brother.
No, real quick. And this is us manifesting things. Because what did we say a couple of weeks ago? We need our young people to use this technology, make it more palatable, more presented better, make it look better. I'm loving what these young folks are doing with the AI giving. I'm in agreement with you 100%.
Facts. You got to pass the torch.
We have
That's
to.
another thing that the enemy knows very well. That we will die out or there will be some friction. Look at every black organization. I mean, I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but you can say that Booker T was a pacifist or sellout or whatever, but that's not what Marcus Garvey thought. That's not what Garvey wrote about.
That's not what his works prove either.
So
that part right there.
Hey, it is what it is, but there was conflict between these two men. I'm gonna get off my soapbox and see if we can have this video play tonight without no trouble. Here we go.
I sent out from Atlanta in June 1905 a call to a few selected persons for organized determination and aggressive action on the part of men who believe in Negro freedom and growth. I proposed a conference during that summer. W.E.B. Du Bois.
The meeting place was to be Buffalo, New York, not far from Niagara Falls.
The location of the Niagara Movement was not chosen in a random sense.
Buffalo was a lively city at the turn of the century, and we had broad streets that were tree-lined. We were close to Niagara Falls, and so we were a tourist center.
Buffalo had been a stop on the Underground Railroad. It's a very symbolic place for Black people.
I went to Buffalo and hired a little hotel on the Canada side of the river at Fort Erie and waited for the men to attend the meeting. 29 men representing 14 states came. W.E.B. Du Bois.
They are trying to form an organization to counter the enormous power and influence of Booker T. Washington. And it's a brave thing to do because Washington's critics could expect to be hounded and pounced on and maybe lose their jobs or careers just because they spoke up against Booker T. So it's an act of bravery.
This great photograph of the original leaders of the Niagara Movement sitting in front of the Niagara Falls with this water coming down. The fall itself is a sense of power.
Together, Du Bois and Trotter wrote out the new organization's manifesto, the Declaration of Principles.
The Niagara Movement was saying nothing more than was said in the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
The right to citizenship, the right to vote, the right to be treated as American citizens.
The new movement would fight inequality, not accept it. Their tactic would not be accommodation, but confrontation.
We're not going to take this. We are going to fight this system.
W. Du Bois, William Monroe Trotter, and ultimately the activists of the Niagara Movement were calling for full civil rights, political participation.
Du Bois and Trotter spelled out in the most simplest, direct terms that the right to vote and racial equality were the essential things that were missing in American culture, not just things that African Americans needed, but that the whole country needed to be free.
What the Niagara Movement does is that it says we are full human beings and we will never cease protesting to achieve full social equality.
The Niagara Movement was launching an ideological struggle, and the target of its attack was the idea of accommodation, promoted by Booker T. Washington.
Washington did not tolerate rivals.
Washington did not hide his efforts nor his desires to stop and end the Niagara Movement.
He sent spies to infiltrate the organization. There was 29 people that came to that first Niagara meeting. A couple of them were basically there watching things for Booker T. Washington.
He puts his forces into operation. Let's destroy this thing. He's got control of most of the black press. And so then the Niagara Movement is going to have this great problem of trying to get their message out to the masses of people.
The historic founding of the Niagara Movement was scarcely mentioned in the black press. This created a problem, for the organization would accept only black members.
The Niagara Movement was an all-black organization, and that was strategic and intentional. Having an integrated organization might dilute in some ways their messaging, their overall vision and goals.
It would be a crucial choice. In the end, some saw it as a double-edged sword, a step toward independence that also became a crippling economic limitation.
The Niagara Movement, for all of its vision and brilliance, was flawed in a number of ways.
The Niagara Movement, they were black elites. They were educated. They were professionals. They didn't really know how to relate to the masses. And so the Niagara Movement in many ways was this echo chamber of elite black people talking to each other.
The movement was all educated, all black, and it was also all male.
In 1905, when the organization first formed, they did not allow women to become members. This was actually the source of a lot of strife and a lot of internal debate. Du Bois, on the one hand, advocated for full civil rights for women, for suffrage for women, and actively wanted women to join and become members of the Niagara Movement.
It was Trotter who would say that women could not participate in the Niagara Movement. He believed that black men had to take the leadership.
That was one of the weaknesses of the Niagara Movement. If you're going to do anything in the black community, you better involve the women, because the women are organizers, they're intellectuals, they're hard workers.
What struck me about the Niagara Movement was that the National Association of Colored Women, who at the time of their founding had 15,000 members, how do you leave this out of what is supposed to be such a pivotal movement?
In its first year, the movement grew. Its members created chapters in 34 states. They distributed over 10,000 pamphlets, tracts, and circulars. They agitated against a segregated exposition in Jamestown, Virginia, bringing segregation into the public eye. August 1906, the Niagara Movement held a second annual meeting at Harpers Ferry, West Virginia. The outlook for vigorous growth and work is excellent, Du Bois claimed. He pushed the movement to add female members.
There's a radical shift, and the majority of the membership is calling for the inclusion of women in the movement. Unfortunately, Trotter was not. And kind of bitterly, even to the end of those debates, was still digging his heels in that women did not belong in this movement.
Women follow, never lead in civilization. Man is responsible for her elevation or degradation in every sense. William Monroe Trotter.
Trotter was very, very vocal about this. But Trotter, this was not a battle that Trotter won. And in 1906, women were allowed to become formal members.
That same year, the movement made a fateful decision. It would support a lawsuit involving a woman named Barbara Pope.
In 1906, Barbara Pope was boarding a train in D.C. to Virginia.
She took a seat at the front of the train. And they came to her, a black woman. They came to her and said, no, you cannot sit here.
She is required to go to the rear where all colored or people of color would be assigned, and she refused. And she is arrested. Barbara very much was doing this on her own, and then she approached the Niagara Movement.
The Niagara Movement took a case to the courts, declaring that it was unconstitutional for her to have to sit at the back of the train.
And the judge says that yes, Pope is right, that the railway shouldn't have done this. This was against the law.
It was a big win for the Niagara Movement and for civil rights, but not for Barbara Pope.
She's awarded a penny in damages, an indignity.
It says that everything she's gone through is for nothing. It did not recognize her as a lady, and it did not recognize her rights. The consequences for her were that her career was over, her reputation was damaged, and it led to so much pressure on her.
This is a war. This breaking down of white supremacy and segregation, it takes its toll. And it takes its toll on all the individuals who are fighting that, who are challenging all that injustice. And it took its toll on Barbara, I would say.
She began to suffer. She can't sleep. She's exhausted. She describes her brain as being on fire, and she says her body is worn out.
One day I guess she decides it's just easier to just end it.
So you see the correlation between Rosa Parks and Barbara Pope. See, the enemy replays the same mechanism over and over again. What gets you riled up? What you will get involved in? They watching you every step that you make. Barbara Pope ends her life rewarded a penny for her suffering. Even though she wins her case, she's rewarded a penny. Died with nothing, penniless. Rosa Parks also died with nothing. Nothing. The same play is used over and over and over again because we still refuse to study intelligence, number one, and number two, all the mistakes that have been made before. The same thing happened in the civil rights movement, happened in other movements. First, you don't want no women involved, but you understand that the women are the workers. So you can't get nothing done. You busy trying to be the head all the time, clashing with each other. You don't get it. The same tricks is being used over and over again. Then you got to look at the fact that you have a system that is continuously beating our people down to severe depression. What are we seeing now? Our people walking around severely depressed. This is a war tactic. They will wear on you. So many of our people die from disease caused by stress. And we still haven't figured that out yet. Your thoughts, Sister Marcia? Oh, and by the way, y'all saw the ladies wearing the hats? Y'all better leave me alone. Stop playing with me. Go ahead, Sister Marcia.
Dorothy Heights, the what they call them, the Negro women. They love. Oh, I just love their annual event. Maybe we should pop in. They're whatever. But I do love their events because the hats be awesome, and I do get a nice hat for those events. But on this topic of Barbara and her depression, and the mere fact that she gains 1 cent, and the Niagara Movement loses thousands of dollars to today's capital, right? But hundreds of dollars then, in order to fight for her right and for every Black woman's right to sit where they may sit. And so this thing of us wanting the court system to be our quote unquote father and protector is also our demise, because they're actually just not creating a law that's going to protect us in the end. They'll say, no, that's not right. And thanks for letting us know, but you don't get anything for shining a light on something that's not right. So now my whole livelihood has been challenged because I stood up for something that's not right for my sisters and my future daughters, because I stood up. And it makes you not want to stand up because you're not going to get anything out of it. And today there's so many families standing up and they get some type of financial compensation. But after the lawyer who takes 75% of that income, what do they really get out of it? I'm just not sure, because so many people are talking about all these families that's gained financially from losing a child through the system. What truly have they gained, especially when they don't bring it back into the community, whether or not they were part of the community, right? But they would invest in something to make something better happen for the future. Like, those what is it? Mad moms against drunk driving and stuff like that. When that first mom won her case, she created the organization. And that was her seed fund to make sure that people understood the dangers of drunk driving, the this, the that. And I don't know if it's because she was a Caucasoid that happened to her benefit or whatever. But I'm just saying, you're supposed to win something and be able to have some seed funds. And this is where I think Booker was thinking, Booker T. Washington was thinking that he was gaining seed fund, but because he couldn't articulate that to the people or tell the people what his true vision was, it was difficult for people to truly see what he was doing, because he's getting money. And Trotter is just like, he's getting all these monies from those people. That's not for us. And he wants us to accommodate, which we're very accommodating right now. Just saying. It's just, just a question that I put out there. And lastly, the idea of, like you said, the suffrage that we go through, and people probably taunted her too, right? You wanted to sit in the front, you wanted to do this, you wanted to do that, and all of that takes a toll on us mentally. And unfortunately, we're not very supporting as a people, as a nation of people. We're just we're not supporting enough. When we see people having a hard time, we try to either get them to come into our folds or leave them alone completely, versus trying to find an outlet for them to get the support that they need. So that's what I have for right now.
Shout out to Dr. Filet on the check-in, New Day Liberation, MWM in the building. She says to you, Marcia, the hats are great, but the Negro Councilwomen is the creme de la creme of the female boule operatives. And that's fact.
I know. I've sat with them before and I've asked them and I've challenged them on certain things, and they didn't invite me back to meetings. So I've been there, but I do still support the organization, because when they do have their hats event, it is one of the most spectacular thing that I see. And I just wish that we inside of our hyper conscious community, we could create just these spectacular events as well. We
Got you.
don't do that.
Got you. Now, as it relates, now remember in that piece they said that Booker T sent agents, or sent spies rather. Shout out to Brother Black. Sent spies in there to see what was going on. Now that was the catalyst to that Boston riot, right? When William Monroe Trotter's people threw the pepper in the air and had people coughing and sneezing, and then that fight broke out. You see what I'm saying? And we still see the same problems today, Brother Tad. I think it's an addiction to cultism, if you will. That's the way I see it. People act like these organizations, they act like cults. I'm telling you, and it's crazy. But
Sister Keisha, that was a very, very crazy point you just made. Because under white supremacy, because you have to have a military element inside of it, it makes it so. I don't like, I remember, and I'm sure I've said this on the show before, once or twice at least. Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben, when they used to talk about each other, they used to curse each other. Oh, you're the stupidest dude ever on earth, blah, blah, blah. When they left each other, I love you, brother. I'll see you tomorrow. And they do it all over again. So we have to understand the importance that we're not going to communicate the same, but what are you communicating at the end of the communication to make your determination as to who this person is to you?
I get you.
You see my point?
And what our people have to understand too, there are builders and there are organizers, and then there are communicators, right? So we have the same problems today. You had the elite forming these organizations, but they have no connections to the street at all. And we still got that same goddamn problem. And we can't get people to realize that. And when I see people who fight against it, to me, you're a traitor. And I see you for what you are. The history hitman said Booker T. Washington was not 1/10 of the man William Monroe Trotter was. Absolutely not. I would agree with that statement 100% wholeheartedly. However, we have to tell the whole story. Now, and this is shout out to Dr. Filet. She mentioned Dr. Tareen Wright's book, and this comes out of her book, Booker T. Washington, Booker T. Washington and Africa, the making of a Pan-Africanist. Now, on page 25, it says earlier this year he challenged the African exclusion measure, and I would advise all of y'all to read that in your spare time. Read the African exclusion measure. And maybe one day we'll talk about that on this show. That would have excluded Garvey and other African persons from entering the U.S. from anywhere in the world, particularly Central America and the Caribbean. Booker T. Washington was dead set against that. and advocated to have black people come into this country. Surreal Breaks talks about that. Marcus Garvey wholeheartedly considered himself a disciple of Booker T. Washington. He ended his letters to Booker T as your most humble and obedient servant. Your most humble and obedient servant. Hold on, Black. Then, if you look down here, nonetheless, at the core of Washington's philosophy were the concepts of race pride, self-reliance, and sustainability. And so Garvey viewed Washington as an originator and a builder. That's what Garvey said. That ain't what I said.
Right.
That's not what I said. That's what Garvey said.
And he was right.
Your thoughts, Brother Tad, on that?
I mean, I agree with Garvey. And to your point, because I got mixed emotions. Sometimes it's almost like it's a crime to be intelligent. You know, we try to organize our people. We go through the rigmarole of educating ourselves, investing money in books and travel and things like that. But on the other hand, I think you laid it out, the disconnect to the people in the community. Now, I've been a part of a lot of Black organizations. In fact, I give you one that come to mind. Brother Kevin Powell of the Vibe, you know, hip hop. Was part of his manhood organization. And believe it or not, shout out to Brother Vernon Wells. He was there this one particular night that I left that organization. I think Brother Vern said he left the organization as well, but we hadn't met yet. We were meeting in Brown Memorial Baptist Church on Gates Avenue, Washington. Shout out to Reverend Clinton Miller. And it was educated brothers and brothers from the street. So I was part of it. I brought my son there every think we was meeting every month. Yeah, to me, you know, I'm getting my son involved, learning what it takes to be a Black man in America. We hobnob with, even though we know some of them operate as boule, but they was letting a brother like me and a couple other street brothers come in. I thought they were bringing balance. But then one day, a gay guy got up and said, yeah, y'all never talk about the homosexual strike. What about the gay men strike? And you know, all the brothers was like, whoa, pause. Right? Kevin Powell gave him the floor and let him just talk his rhetoric. That's when I knew that wasn't the place for me, because I got my son here. We not talking about that. Brother Vern said, and I mentioned as a Brother Vern, he said, I was there that night also. What I say is a lot of times we have the potential, but we let agents and agent provocateurs in. And we really don't vet people like we should. See, I'm from the streets. And if you want to be down with us, you got to be vetted. Who can vouch for you? Because whoever vouch for you, know the consequences of you violating is you're going to get dealt with. But we're going to deal with him first because he's bringing you into the fold. And you got to know these things. And I think the same thing should go within our movement, that we should have people vetted. What school you went to? What neighborhood you from? What job you work? What organization is a part of? What's your reputation? And we really have to really start vetting each other and seeing where each other's at. Because though on one hand, we do need the intelligent brothers with the resources and the knowledge and the education that could get in certain places many of us don't know exist. But then at the same token, we need brothers from the street that know how to connect to the masses, that can give you strength in numbers, but also speak to you specifically of what the community needs are, not what you sitting in the ivory tower. I think Garvey did that great. I think Booker T. Washington was 100% right in terms of being self-sufficient. Now, as for sending agents, that's a problem. That's a problem. Just because I agree with you.
Not just that, but also taking over Black media to control the narrative.
Yeah.
That's what Booker T did. You got to look at all of it.
He was trying to be a dictator. He was trying to protect his people. But his
no, I don't think he was trying to protect his interests.
But
that's what it is.
He was trying to protect his interests with Tuskegee. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. If his interest is Tuskegee and his people is Tuskegee, because his lynching library was all about what was happening in and around Tuskegee to make sure his students weren't getting lynched. So, okay, but he did say something. We needed to give up our idea of being having political power in this system until we get ourselves together. And still we continue to fight so much for political power, and we still not gaining anything. Anytime we gain an inch, we reverse the yard because we haven't gained political understanding or understanding of who we are. So we still are in a state that we were back 160 years ago. We're arrested at that point still, because we still can't make great political decisions for our community.
Agreed. Hold on
But
one
Sister
second.
Keisha, you said
But you
something.
gotta put in the point. You gotta also remember the point. What was Booker T's allegiance to? You know, he was mulatto. So again,
So was the boys.
yeah, but hold on.
But,
We discussed the boys last week. I'm talking about we got to move on.
But he was doing so much work in Africa and in the Caribbean.
He did.
No other person was doing that. So he floated, and it goes back to some of the writings of Carter G. Wilson, where Carter G. tells us that we're supposed to learn and get as much information from those folks and bring back into our community. I think that's one of those things that Mr. Washington was doing. He was getting capital to build a school and build a community. Maybe let's make up a fictitious scenario, but maybe if his idea had panned through completely and he was successful in living and he didn't transition so early, we may have had the little Africa that Chokwe Lumumba and them were fighting for in the Alabama and all of those regions over there. Maybe we would have been successful in those things, but so many things we don't know. We just know at the point that he transitioned and we became arrested on certain things. That's all I can say.
Got you. Brother Tad, your point.
No, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Sister Marcia said. And I wanted to revisit what you were saying in terms of us operating in the mindset of a cult. Because I think that's very important, because that's what I see within our conscious community, within our political community, within our activist community, because they're not one and the same. And I don't know how much more I can emphasize that we are not one and the same. And once we have a level of discernment and we know how to separate these factions of the quote unquote Black community, I think then we can start really picking a direction. Because what we need is political education classes on a consistent basis, not just lectures, but we need real scholars, lawyers, law enforcement, people who really understand the system but put Black people first, to say, yo, on this day, we're going to meet, we're going to talk about how this game goes, because we don't know. We have an idea. Many of us have an idea. I'm not a politician. I'm not politically well-versed. I just know what's right for me and what's not, what's in my best interest and what's not. However, we have to know how the system works and how to navigate through it, because we look at other communities come through and fly past us. We need to know what cults are, because a lot of these quote unquote conscious organizations ain't nothing but cults. We have to call it for what it is. And we are getting so lost and so confused. And we do need some type of military, some type of self-defense in our community. The Jews got lights and everything, and they could just fly through and just help their people before anybody come. They get to patrol their own neighborhoods and keep the unsavory out, but we can't. Why? Because we don't know the rules of the game. There's people playing the game that don't know. So we still, right now, at this point, we still have to critique what went wrong of people following the cults of personalities, because we still see it today. Do we follow Tariq? What name? King Flex? Do we follow him, or do we follow Dr. Sukiana? Like, why we can't bring minds together and you know what I'm saying? Work what's in our best interest. See how this applies to the needs of the people. But unfortunately, it's all about what I want. It's all about what Booker T. Washington want. Well, my project is the FDMG. I mean, my project is Tuskegee. And if you ain't donating to Tuskegee, because I'm the King Kong of
Well,
this
he didn't ask you to donate to Tuskegee. He went and got money from the man. Y'all give me money for Tuskegee, and I'll make sure them Negroes are good Negroes. But there was one other thing that they mentioned in the piece, the intellectual masturbation, right? All you have is a whole bunch of intellect talking to each other and stuff like that. And I remember Kwame Ture telling us, don't get locked into the intellectual masturbation. Be able to organize and work within your community. Because if you get locked into that type of conversation, you won't be for the people. And we must understand that what we don't know then is what we don't know. What we can do is dissect the information, critique the information, and share it with our community so that they can be as informed as possible and for them to form their own analysis of the content as well. But in order for us to move forward as a community, like Brother Tad said, we need political education. We need military science. We need an.
But if we need that,
yes, ma'am.
You and I know.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the next step?
Doing it.
So why isn't it done?
Well, it's being done on my part.
I'll tell you why it's not done. Because to have a true political education, a true understanding of where we are politically and how we must move politically, people are not ready for that conversation.
Absolutely.
And people get disturbed by it. It's an addiction. Same with Booker T. I have to say it. The same with an addiction to whiteness. You think that they're going to ride you out of here. That's why people continue to vote.
No, I agree. I agree.
Hold on. They pro-black and still continue to vote.
I agree.
That's your addiction to whiteness. That means you believe that the duopoly, which is created to destroy you, is going to save you.
I agree.
That's some serious stuff to deal with.
No, because even I deal with the little people, right? I'm dealing with little people who have to ask parents permission, and parents have to be like, yeah. And as soon as, you're messing with my child's understanding of Christ. You're messing with my child's understanding of their friends. You're messing with this and you're messing with that. Mom, Dad, do you want your child to understand who they are as an African now? Or do you want them to battle? And if the battle is what you want them to do, then
Sister Marcia, if they don't know, they can't pass that on. It's that simple.
I'm not saying it, but this is what we're saying right now. If they don't know, and we're
coming to the end. We got to wrap this up.
Okay, one question, Brother Black. If they don't know, and we're trying to form organizations to help them, right, and study groups to help them, and they don't want their children to have their knowledge, how will the parents go and gain the knowledge? Nobody's going to know. They're still going to be locked into, the Caucasoids and doing what the Caucasoids tell them. Then we're still going to be in this whole cycle of being locked in. How do we separate from that?
We got to spoon feed our people. Our people don't know nan. And that's what it is. We got to be slow, steady, patient, and methodical with our people. And that's why I always say, when we have these conversations, I always give references because our people don't know where to start. And it's almost like we throw them in the deep end of the pool with a lot of stuff we're talking about. And that's why we got to take baby steps with a lot of our people. We got to get to where they are and then lift them up to where we at. Because this stuff we talking about, like Sister Keisha said, why don't we have this? And that's a hell of a question to ask, because many of our audience members and us, many of us have done what we can, and there's still more to do. However, these are critical questions because we're in a critical time right now that we have to start reorganizing and making these things available to people, because our folks, like, I can't tell you the conversations I have with people and just trying to get them to understand when they don't even have a frame of reference of what I'm talking about. All I could do is cite books and quote laws. Like, even when I talk about the Second Amendment, people keep thinking that it's against each other. And I'm like, no, this is your right for what's going on right now. This is your right for what is happening right now, for a tyrannical government. And you don't even realize this is tyranny when they're taking 40-50% of your check and sponsoring wars and giving it to people who are not even citizens without meeting your needs. That is tyranny. Like, and our folks don't get it because they're not even used to that word, let alone what the definition of it is. They not familiar with what's that? The frog in the boiling water.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just leave the frog in the water long enough, just keep turning it up and he won't get out.
Mm-hmm.
Because he slowly but surely get used to it. And that's where we are. We're in boiling water. We're in hot water and don't even realize it. And when you say, hey, act like you crazy when you want to get out the water. Like, you don't feel this? What's happening? So it's on us that know better. Like we talked about at the top of the show with the street organizations, you know, those conversations are being held. And we know some conversations ain't for the internet.
Facts.
Or
Keep
you
it on
can
the low.
just send
Keep
a
it on
solar
the low.
flash
Keep it
brother.
on the low. Keep it on the low. Don't even mention it here. Go ahead.
You know, but this is very, what we are doing, and I can't stress this enough. This is why I love what we're doing. It's very important because at least on the surface level, we're agitating the consciousness of the people. We're provoking them to think and look into these names that they heard before, but have no idea of who they are, what their political stance is. Because most people, when they think of Black history, they only know Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, and maybe Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
They heard of Garvey, they heard of Frederick Douglass, but how many heard of William Trotter? I'm a student when we're here. You know, we learn from each other,
That's
which
right.
I love it so much.
Steel sharpen steel. That's what we do.
But we got to realize some of our folks are so far behind. We're talking advanced college level stuff, and some of our folks are still trying to learn the color in the lines.
Hey, Tad, you got to address
All
one more
outside
thing.
the lines.
Hold on. Sister Marcia, I got to say this to Tad real quick. One more thing, Tad. The element that don't give a what about what we talking about and ain't gonna.
Right. And that's all right, because you know what? You know what? They do. And I'm going to tell you how, Black, because I be in the streets. You always got to appeal to people's interests. Appeal to their interests. One day, it was a bunch of youngins on the corner of my block. You know, I'm the OG. My stripes, I rock my stripes with respect. Right? I said, yo,
Same
what up?
here. Facts.
What y'all trying to do? They said, we just chilling. I said, y'all chilling? Y'all ain't trying to get no money? That's everybody's interest. They said, yeah. I said, but let me guess. Ain't no money out here, right? They was like, nah, ain't no money. I said, you sure? I said, oh, it ain't no money for you. I said, because look at that Arab store. Look at that nail salon, that Chinese restaurant. And you know, in our hood, you ain't even got to move off the corner. You can see 2 or 3 of the same stores on each block. Whatever direction you go, you see more than 2. More than 2. Easy. Right? I said, so it ain't no money or it ain't no money for you. We still pick their interest. I said, but that's crazy, right? How these people could come in our neighborhood and get money. And here we've been here for generations. Your grandmother grew up here, right? Yeah. And we can't get no money? Redirection. Now we can have this conversation because outsiders is in our community. So I'm appealing to their interests, but now it becomes a community conversation because this is our community, but we ain't getting no money. What's up with that? And that's how you got, but you got to reach the people where they are. You can't go, what's up, little brother? Yeah, you know the white man got you out here, bro. He's like, Negro, what?
Get out of here.
Don't work like that.
Going.
You got to appeal to their interests. And then casually walk them through. And that's why they love me, and that's why they call me a real OG, because guess what? When they go from teenagers to their 20s to their 30s with children, everything I give them is age appropriate. Everything I give them is age, and they love it. They love it.
Thank you for the correction, brother.
Many of us don't have, and I realize that's a skill. That's a skill to have, to learn how to talk to people and walk them through a process. But some people got to be willing to learn. It's like me as a personal trainer. Sometimes I train people, sometimes I don't, because some people are not coachable. You give them a regimen. I don't want to do that exercise. Whoa, then you don't want the results you say you want. Not everybody's going to make it. And we just have to accept that. But that's just my little spiel on that right there.
Absolute facts. Absolute facts, family. Wow, time flies, and we getting it in over here. So it is what it is. As I said on a Zoom call last week, shout out to the Black United Fund.
Yeah.
We have to really pay attention to intelligence. And we, as Brother Tad said, must come with some sort of credibility. You know, when we were on another network and we had brothers call from the penitentiary, straight from the pen, they called us. All right. And one of the brothers, you know, he says, do they know who you are, Keisha? Do they know that I will take somebody out for you just because of your character? They don't know you. Do they know who Brother Tad is? And I tried for so many years to get a lot of our elders to understand our validity. And they fell into the same traps that Garvey fell into, that W.E.B. Du Bois fell into, that Booker T. Washington fell into. We keep falling in. Even when we was with Straight Black Pride, shout out to Straight Black Pride, my brother Silas, he in the crew.
Yeah.
But Brother Tad will tell you, because he told me, he gave me the news, and him and Brother Ashe handled the situation before I found out about it, because if I did, it was going to go real left. Someone who had the ideology of cultism. Want to tell people how to dress and all this. Is you crazy? My father is deceased. I sleep with my husband. Ain't no man regulating not a goddamn thing over here. Nothing. You crazy, but Brother Ashe, shout out to Brother Ashe and Brother Tad handled it. And when I came back, they was like, and King Simon, Brother Tad said, I got something to tell you. But it is what it is. We got to step to people in this way. We have seen in previous movements that you have people who come up, they ain't vetted, number one. Nobody know who the hell they are. You could go back to wherever neighborhood, Best Start, and they will tell you who Tad is.
That's a
Marcia's work in the community, they will tell you who she is. Brother Black in the community, they will tell you who he is. We all have a certain amount of weight. But when certain people see that, it becomes, as I would say, an identity crisis. People get a little bit of power and they start tripping. And they don't care if they bring the whole goddamn thing down with them.
Yep.
That's a problem. So, before I go, the video of Brother Trust Graham is posted on the Thorough Black Talk Facebook page. The panelists, you all have it individually. I sent it to you all. So you guys can check it out at your own time. I wanted to remember the book. I couldn't remember the complete title about William Monroe Trotter, and it's an excellent book by Dr. Kerry Greenridge, and actually she was in the documentary piece that we've been playing about the Niagara Movement. It's called Black Radical, The Life and Times of William Monroe Trotter. It's a great book. It's a great read. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? So we have come to the end of our program, family. Next week, as we wrap up Black History Month, moving into Black Women's History Month, we're going to drop the link. If y'all want to come on live, you come on live and rock out with us. You don't have to put your cameras on. You can just keep your microphone on. If you don't want nobody seeing, please, if your house is nasty, don't bring the camera on. Please. Don't do it. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it to yourself. But All jokes aside, let's round out and get up out of here. Brother Black, your final thoughts and commentary.
A good, just to finish off on what the program was about, and I've mentioned this movie, one of the greatest movies in my opinion ever that I've seen, to get a feel of how that movement kind of fizzled out, the Niagara Movement, before it turned into the NACP, is a movie called Lackawanna Blues, which is city just south of Buffalo, upstate New York. So you can see, how the 30s and 40s went into maybe the 60s and 70s and probably ends in the 80s or early 90s. Okay, now, as far as what is going on, again, those of you in New York, I mentioned it in the beginning, be careful, because you got Bloods, Crips, you got gangs, organized gangs of migrants, especially from Venezuela, who got out of prison and came straight here, and they tearing it up there now. They're mailing phones back to their countries by getting them, they're breaking into the phones and then opening them up so they can send them back down to South America and selling them for what they almost worth here, and which is a lot of money down there. Anyway, it's been a great show. I learned a lot as well. That's why I didn't talk a lot too much. I wanted to listen and learn. I learned a lot about the Niagara Movement, Booker T, and all his contemporaries. Keep going. Whether or not this last scare was a solar flare or not, just keep your eyes on the swivel and your head as well, because there's going to be some things going on there. We see that this is all coming to a head. So just be careful out there. Those of y'all who support me, buy my book. You know what I'm saying? I need a little money. I hate asking for money, but if you want to buy my book, it's for sale. My name is Elias Flavius on Facebook. Hit me up. Inbox only. Be Cash App ready, and you have it in 2 weeks. Peace to the panel. Peace to the people out there listening, and peace to the future. Peace. See you on the bridge next week.
Sister Marcia, your final thoughts and commentary.
Family. Everything is everything. I get depressed about our lives. I'd like to hang myself or throw myself across the bridge. And once upon a time, I was ready to take me and my child down a river. But I understand down the river really might not be the glorious point. So what I ask for us to do is to really take some time and listen to ourselves. Use these stories as an echoing chamber to speak to your ancestors. And even if you know your ancestor was a bad person, but there was something that you admired from that person. They say in the ancestral realm, everyone is in their perfect self. And so however you imagine that person to be in their perfect self, you channel that person's perfect self. So if I think Booker T. Washington is good in one way and bad in another, I challenge his whole, complete, perfect self, and I ask him to bring forth to us an understanding for our people, because the next 10 days will be hectic. The next 10 months will be hectic. And the next 10 and 10, and we can go on in tens. But all I'm saying is victory is ours if we believe it is. And we must ask our ancestors for assistance. They are there to help us and guide us. I call upon you to take a moment and do that. Even if it's 1 second. Ancestor, help me. That's enough to get the echoing chamber started. Start an echo chamber. That's what we need. That's what we're missing. We're too busy calling on a Jesus that we have no idea of, but we know a William Trotter. We know a Garvey. We know a Fannie Lee Hamer. We know a Barbara Hope. Every day we learn a new name of ancestors that tried and survived for us. And even if they didn't survive in this realm, they're surviving in the other realm. Call on them. We need their assistance to come through this. And so with that, I want us to make time flourish, and I want time to flourish on our behalf, because time is on our side. And Brother Tad, is off to you.
Holla, holla, holla.
Thank you, Marcia.
I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you don't walk away with nothing tonight, I want to leave you with this. Be your own leader. But in that, learn what leadership is. Pick a destination for your life, a direction you want to go, and get on that path, because tomorrow's not promised to none of us. But let's add some value to our lives and those that we love. So hopefully you're inspired by something you heard tonight. It's your turn to go out and inspire others. So y'all stay up, stay blessed, stay true. And remember, no matter how hard things may seem right now, it's always better days ahead. Sister Keisha.
Again, family, thank y'all for joining us each and every Thursday. We appreciate you coming on the Brooklyn Bridge and rocking out with us. You saw the streams across promoting all three of the panelists. Follow the OG Wisdom Podcast on all your streaming networks. They're about to kick off again. Sister Marcia, you can follow her, Africans on the Rise, on Instagram. And our brother Black, here's the link for his book, melaninforever.blogspot.com. Reach out to him, Flavius Jones, and he'll give you the 411. You can follow me, K Fighter, on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You never know what the hell I'm going to be posting over there. But again, it's time for us to rock out, family. Enjoy the rest of this week. Be safe out there, and also be dangerous out there. Don't let nobody play no games with you. You understand what I'm saying? Good night, family. We're out.